And welcome back, everybody, to so much going on the TV show. I was sending updates to everybody. Before we do anything, let me introduce my wonderful co-hosts here. We have, I think both of you are down at the shore and looking tan and relaxed. Although Angelo is apparently not that tan. Here with Rhea Hughes and Angelo Cataldi. Guys, I know you're on vacation. But I don't know if word has gotten down to you, but apparently Joe Biden has dropped out of the race. Have you heard about this?
Yes, I actually, it was crazy. Oh, sorry. I heard about it at the shore and there was nobody here at the house. And I'm like, Angela, I almost called you like I would always do. I'm like, I got to talk to somebody.
Gail was actually the one that broke it to me on the beach in the Sea Isle here. And I just want to say, I have not done any podcasts from the shore till now because I do not trust the internet. It is powered primarily by a mouse running on a treadmill, and the mouse gets tired and you lose it. So I apologize if you lose me. Hopefully, but yes, the Biden news, I just got to tell you, I think we're going to reference that. You know how big moments, and it wasn't like people didn't expect it to happen. But when it happened, it was still, wow, the whole world kind of shook. It was an incredible thing. And now the news has been wall to wall since then.
It was pretty amazing. Rhea, you were down at the shore. I was on where I always am, Twitter. So I saw it like 2 minutes after he posted it. My family was away. I was ready to call everybody. Nobody was around for me to talk to. I thought of you immediately, Angela, because you called this after the debate. You went into the deep history of televised debate and said there's no possible way that he can survive this. And he didn't. But I want to talk about it from a TV perspective. All right. Number one, the DNC ratings wise, the convention, the Republican numbers were down 20 million from 2020. Now we were all stuck in our houses in 2020, so that might not matter. I didn't put this in the email, but I just got to ask, do you think they beat the RNC ratings of about 35 million for Kamala's coronation? Rhea?
I don't think there's any doubt about it because I think people knew what they were going to get with Joe Biden, but they might have turned in for, some people like to watch train wrecks. And, it's just, he was just struggling. It was very clear. But this is going to be fascinating to see how this works out. So I think the ratings will be through the roof.
Angela, you agree?
They will be great, but they won't be as great as the debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was a very accomplished prosecutor.
Yeah.
Ironically, Donald Trump is currently facing a 34 count conviction. Prosecutors, when they meet, it isn't going to be when Biden was against Trump because Biden was defenseless.
Right.
Yes.
Biden, the great thing about that debate was it exposed the president for who he was, how diminished he had become. It's not I made this reference a couple of weeks ago. It's not unlike 1960 when John F. Kennedy won the presidency because Nixon looked evil when you saw him on a TV screen, black and white back then. And he turned out he was evil. So, the TV is better at exposing what's going on than anything other than being right there with the person. This is going to be massive. And I just want to take the next question because I know where you go with this. And Rhea and I are going to have fun with this one. You wanted to know, Jack, when I was there at WIP, if we rooted for chaos, in other words, that we root for a scandal that would light up the phone lines for weeks. I didn't just root for it. I'm not a religious man. I prayed for it. There was nothing. And the number one thing was when a quarterback got benched in the middle of a game because you knew magic quarterback controversy. Rhea, wasn't that the ultimate?
Yeah, it was because a lot of people, used to say to us, and Angela knows this, you root for the teams to lose because there is more chaos. Now, is there more creativity in the way you present a show and the way you present a point when a team loses in a spectacular way? As Angelo mentions, a quarterback gets benched. That's absolutely true. But what Angelo and I also learned is in 2008 and 2017, when the Phillies won the World Series and the Eagles won the Super Bowl, best ratings in the history of WIP. So, here's what Angelo and I used to talk about. You want a game that's crazy stuff going on. There's 5 fumbles. The quarterback looks a mess. They're screaming on the sidelines, and then they pull it out in overtime.
So chaos, but chaos with a good outcome is what you root for.
Either way, extremes. You need extremes. If you're winning a championship, that's gold. If you're not winning a championship, you may as well lose spectacularly, because then you've got all sorts of dominoes falling.
Yeah.
See, the one thing you don't want is status quo.
Yep.
You don't want status quo. Otherwise, you're good.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing is certain. The DNC will not be status quo. Things are certainly moving. I want to talk about the Emmys. I know we've done a lot of Bear discussion, but I don't want to talk about the Bears specifically. They broke a record for season 2, not season 3. I think we all agree season 2 deserves recognition for being a wonderful season of television. But they broke a record for the most nominations in the history of the Emmys for a comedy. And there's been a lot of debate about this. I want to just put the final word on it from you guys. Angelo, is The Bear a comedy or a drama, or is the distinction useless? And should we just do the best show, not the best comedy or drama?
It is not a comedy. Exhibit A would be episode 8, season 3, which I know is not under consideration yet. If you laughed at any point during the childbirth episode, you are mentally deficient. You have a problem, all right? It is not funny. It is drama. It is great drama. When it's at its best, it's as good as any drama you could find. But it is not funny. And how they decided to ever categorize it that way makes no sense to me. It's not funny in the least that I find. Every once in a while, there may be a funny moment, but that doesn't make it a comedy.
See, I think you have recency bias, Angelo, because I think in season 1 and 2, they very much merged the comedy with the drama. You got breaks from the drama, which was phenomenal. I mean, Richie was phenomenal at that. The crazy handyman, I can't remember his name right now. Season 3 has been torturous. It's been more of a drama. Like literally, the only scene that I found funny so far is John Cena when he had the guest appearance. But I think in the previous 2 seasons, they did a better job of it where it was a dramedy. Whereas this year, maybe the writers went, "Oh, we're going to show them. They're saying we shouldn't be nominated for this because we're one or the other, so we'll be a drama." Right. And the show has stunk because of it.
I'm just going to say this to the Emmys. Go on, Angelo. Sorry.
Hey, you know what was funnier? Succession was way funnier.
Yes.
Than The Bear has ever been. Way funnier. They were never nominated as a comedy. And I defy anyone, including you, who have been an apologist for The Bear this season, to compare that to any of the 4 seasons of Succession. And I acknowledge I was late to that. But Succession is a far superior show than The Bear, especially season 3.
I'm going to
season 3, the disparity got very wide.
I'm going to agree with you, Angelo, that Succession was one of the funniest shows on TV. I'll go a step further and say Mad Men, when it was on, when it wanted to be funny, was one of the funniest shows on TV. I'll say that The Sopranos was one of the funniest shows on TV. I would say that quality writing defies drama or comedy or really any kind of distinction at all. So the Emmys need to stop treating TV like it's a nascent form of entertainment from the 1950s and treat it like the modern entertainment that it is.
Yeah.
Have a half-hour category, an hour category, and a movie length category, and drop the idea that it has to be a comedy or drama, because great writing does. Shakespeare was not comedy or drama, people. There was funny moments in Macbeth. Right. And there was funny moments in Romeo and Juliet. I just want to give you the floor before we get off of this subject. Did you notice anybody or any snubs or anything in the Emmy nominations that you thought was a bad move? Rhea, did you see anything there? I know you've been busy.
I don't, you know, unfortunately, as you guys know, I don't watch a lot of those shows that get nominated because I watch a lot of British show. I mean, The Bear, I thought deserved, to me, Forks is the greatest episode I've ever seen in TV. But I haven't seen some of the shows you've seen, like Succession and Mad Men. So I think they were deserving.
Gotcha. Angelo?
I didn't. I was watching politics all week, Jay. I don't even know what the nominations were. I just know this. If The Bear got 20 for season 2, which was excellent, then they should get 3 or 2 for season 3 because it sucks. Yes. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Well, speaking of suck, let's talk about Jake Paul, because Jake Paul defeated an MMA fighter, Mike Perry, on boxing. And, you know, listen, I'm not a boxing fan. It's a sport that has always been infected by terrible and rapacious promoters who have taken advantage of usually the poorest and least educated athletes out there. Netflix, who wants to get into the live sports medium, is airing a fight in November between YouTuber and Disney star Jake Paul and the 59-year-old Mike Tyson. Rhea, is this anything except a sideshow carnival? Is this the death of boxing, or is boxing already dead?
Boxing died a long time ago. You know, unfortunately, when I was growing up, boxing was still huge. I mean, Mike Tyson early on, loved watching him. Evander Holyfield. I'd have people come over to my house, you know, we'd all pool our money together and, you know, and watch it. But I noticed it when it started to be the kickboxing. My friends were watching that, and I was like, that stuff doesn't work for me. I'm not into the MMA, all that kind of stuff. So boxing, unfortunately, and we have a great boxer in Philadelphia. I wish I could remember his name. It'll come to me at some point. Just won last weekend or the weekend before. But boxing, I don't think will ever get back to where it was. Legendary. Certainly, Angelo would know that, and part of my childhood and early adult when it was great.
Angelo, you're going to be watching Netflix? You're going to watch Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight?
I would like to say everything on boxing you've heard in this podcast so far, I resent. As a former boxing writer when I was in Rhode Island, I loved covering boxing. I trained with Marvin Hagler. I exposed a scandal involving the greatest undefeated heavyweight of all time, Rocky Marciano.
From Rhode Island, correct?
Boxing still lives. Boxing will never die. Yes, boxing will never die because it's the purest sport there is. 2 people in a ring slugging it out to see who's standing at it. It's a brilliantly simple premise, all right? Jake Paul, just so you know, an internet sensation. Jake Paul, Jay, is a terrific boxer. He's great at it. He has worked his ass off it, and he is going to get his huge payday against Tyson, which I will absolutely watch on Netflix on November 15th. My biggest objection with boxing has always been that the biggest matches are a lot like the NCAA championships of the World Series. They go on at 11 or 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
Put them where more people could see them. There's a lot more. You got to understand that the landscape is different now. You've got the MMA, you've got the UFC. World Pro Wrestling now is more of a mainstream entertainment than it was 30 or 40 years ago. There will always be a place for boxing. It will never be what it was. And then one other thing, Jay, and you should embrace this more than anyone. There is no sport in the history of our country with more colorful characters and crazy people who they were the most fun to cover of anyone. They don't lie. You understand? Most of the people that Rhea talks about at WIP now, they lie every day. They hold news conferences to lie. The people at boxing weren't as sophisticated. They gave you their actual story. Boxing will always have a place for me in my heart because it's a pure sport. And when somebody is getting knocked out and he's just against the ropes going out, that's exciting. It's thrilling to see what happens in that moment. So don't say it's dead. Damn it.
Well, you know what? Maybe Netflix and Jake Paul will bring it back to life. Who knows? Real fast before we move on to our regular segments, I wanted to ask you guys, because a couple of weeks ago, you guys gave a wonderful sort of discussion about Stephen A. Smith, a person that started on your show and is now worth millions. By the way, I started on your show and am worth hundreds. And I got news on this weekend that FS1 has dropped Skip Bayless from its lineup and will not be rehiring him. Yeah. ESPN gave out such a nice little, we wish Skip Bayless the best, but he won't be back little message. He'll probably go into podcasting and make a lot of money there. I just wanted to get your thoughts, Angelo and Rhea, both of you. But Angelo, you love Steven Singer. You love Steven Singer. You love Stephen A. Smith. What do you feel about Skip Bayless, a guy who sort of came up with Stephen A. Smith into superstardom?
He actually came up with me.
Yeah.
Skip Bayless was a prominent Dallas columnist when I covered the Eagles at the Inquirer, and I knew him. And I did a little research on him because I wanted to see how much his career paralleled mine. And it's incredible how much it was. He was a writer. I was a writer. He ended up 1991 going into broadcasting. I did it in 1988. He did everything I did, but much more successfully, right? he had a national audience, all this. But here's the thing, and here's why I am pleased by the way I left. I left when I had something left, right? I didn't leave when it was over. It's over for Skip. Yeah. He's 72 years old. You're talking about starting a podcast. You know what? There's got to come a time where you shut the hell up and let the next generation take over. It's time. Yeah, I mean, seriously, his ratings have been in decline for 8 or 9 years now. There's not. Stephen A. Smith is still in his prime, knocking it out of the park. Skip Bayless is like a guy against the ropes, a rope-a-dope. He's done. Give it up. The last great move somebody who did well in their careers needs to do is to know when to leave. He needs to leave. Go away. You've done enough.
Rhea, will you be subscribing to Skip Bayless's podcast?
No, I wasn't a fan. I mean, I know, like what Angelo said, what he turned himself into. That show was great when it was him and Stephen A. When they split up, it wasn't very. I mean, I'm amazed at the ratings for that show are terrible. Yeah. They've been terrible for years. He's kind of like he hates LeBron James. He loves the Cowboys. I always knew exactly where he stood on every single topic, and to me, it wasn't interesting.
Stephen A. Smith made every person that sits opposite to him better. Skip Bayless does not, and that is the difference.
True. Great point. Great point.
All right. Speaking of great points, the greatest point any of us can make is that if you need to buy jewelry, who should you go see, Angelo? Who is the man to buy jewelry from?
Right. Okay. I'm going to give you a little preview of what I'm going to be recommending this week because I forced my wife to watch it. And she looked at me halfway through one of the episodes and she went, I never realized how romantic you are.
Oh, God.
And I went, well, all right, Rhea, shut up. And the truth is, I know where the romance began. It began when I needed to pick a ring out for a gal when I was getting married. And I went to my friend, Steven Singer. And Steven Singer knew exactly what to do. I gave him my budget number and I went, understand, this is outside my league. I got to make it impressive. Well, I'm not positive she said yes here. And he got me exactly the right thing. She still got it on her finger all these years later. And that's the thing, that the moment of truth in every relationship for me is to when you make the move, you go to the knee and you present the ring. It's got to be great. Steven Singer will make it great every time.
100%.
Steven Singer will make it so that she can't say no, even if she's thinking about saying no, because the ring will just be too spectacular.
Yes. Steven Singer, for when you want somebody so far out of your league, everyone says, how did that happen? Angelo's living proof it can happen for you. Go to IHateStevenSinger.com. The link is right there in the podcast. Just scroll down. You'll see the link. Click on it. You need jewelry. That's who you go to. We love you, Steven Singer. Thank you. And another thing that we love, Rhea Hughes, who every week brings us great coverage of both the British and Teen Corner. What do you got this week, Rhea?
So I have something that's a little bit out of my genre, because I'm struggling. Like, hello, BritBox, Acorn, a Masterpiece Theater. Please come out with some new detective shows, because I'm now going back like 20 years to try to find stuff. Haven't found anything. So I found it's what we're talking about with the bear. It's a comedy and a drama. It's called Trying. It's on Apple TV, which I don't find a lot of my British stuff on there. But it's the story of this young London couple, Nikki and Jason, who are trying to have a child. And, they've got a group of friends around them. They're all having kids. Turns out that they're both infertile. So they're going to go the adoption route. Now you're thinking, okay, how do they mine this for any type of humor? There is some drama in it. The two stars of it are Esther Smith and let me get his name right, Rafe Spell. You know him from he was in The Big Short, and he was also in Life of Pi. He played the Canadian author, if you remember that movie. Had a lot of Academy Awards. Their chemistry is so good. And you talked about writing earlier, Jay. There's a scene between these two where they're having an argument, but neither knows they're arguing about a completely different thing. And you as the viewer, you're watching this, and it's done brilliantly, because the lines are the double entendres where that they're not talking about the same thing. I was amazed at the chemistry between these two. And then when I did a little research, I found out, well, they're a couple with a child now. That's why their chemistry, which amazes me that they can make this work. But I'll tell you, so they're now going through adoption. You don't realize how difficult going through the adoption. So if any of our viewers out there are watching this, my like heart bleeds for you, because when I was trying to have Clark, I went through 7 years of fertility. Wow. So I remember what that was like and how painful it was. But they really play it with heart, with charm, with warmth. And Imelda Staunton is in it. She's the adoption agent who basically has to go through their entire life, friends, former lovers. They have to go talk to them, find out what kind of person you are. She played Queen Elizabeth in the last 2 episodes of The Crown. And she also was in Harry Potter as Dolores. Steals every scene she's in. So I really like it. It's 4 seasons. I am on episode 6 of episode 8. I wasn't sure I was going to like it, and I binged it for like several hours the other day. So I really like it. Trying on Apple.
And anybody who's ever been married knows that oftentimes every argument you have are 2 people talking about a different thing because there's no agreement of reality in marriage. That's why you got to stop and go, what is she actually saying here? Probably not what I think. Rhea, what did Clark watch anything this week that you want to talk about?
He did. He watched something with his dad. And I've never been into this genre. The whole Batman movies, I've never cared for Batman. He watched The Batman, the one with Robert Pattinson.
Yep.
Colin Farrell plays the Penguin. Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman. And he said to me, Mom, you might actually like this one, because he asked me why I don't like. I go, I know Heath Ledger is famous for the whole Joker thing. I just didn't like how dark and nasty it was.
Yeah.
He said this one is more of a detective story, where Robert Pattinson as Batman is after the Riddler, who's leaving clues all around the city of people he killed. He thinks it's more of a detective story, and did very well. I looked on Rotten Tomatoes, pretty much 85% audience and critics really liked it. He loved it. And I said, so you haven't seen any other Batman movies? He goes, Well, I saw the Lego movie with Batman, but other than that, this was his first foray into Batman, and he really liked it.
I really enjoyed that movie. I'll say two things about it. Number one, the idea that the Riddler is a YouTube incel is fantastic. What a great idea for a villain. And number two, if you're a heterosexual who's trying to jumpstart puberty, you can't go wrong with Zoe Kravitz as the Catwoman. Yeah. It's
maybe that's why he liked it.
100% heterosexual men everywhere said, maybe I should get my wife a leather cat suit. Yeah. So great movie. Angelo, you previewed the movie that you or the thing you want to talk about. What do you have for us this week?
Just first of all, Rhea, when you do get a chance, when there's a little gap there, I would still love to have you check out The Prisoner.
I know. I meant to watch it. I started watching, trying, because I thought I'm not going to like this, and I loved it.
Right.
So I will watch. I'm off for the next 5 days. I will watch The Prisoner.
Cool. Sounds great. All right. First of all, I want to say the best thing on TV right now. The final episode dropped as we speak on July 24th. All right. Presumed innocent. All I'm going to say is this. The Emmy race for next year is over. Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing. This is such a show that from episode to episode, you're rooting for him, you're rooting against him. He's good, he's bad, he's a fornicator, he's a nice man, and back and forth and all over the place. And it's a really, really good ride. But I'm warning you now, this is the romantic thing, all right? And this is not in my genre, Rhea, at all. But I don't know what made me check it out. I guess because my wife accused me last year of having autistic tendencies. So I saw on Netflix Love on the Spectrum. And I went, Love Spectrum, let me check it out. Oh my God. It is so good.
Wonderful.
You have no idea how great this show is. 2 seasons, American version. These people are so wonderful. You root so hard for them. They're lonely. They've been pushed aside by society because they're different. And they just want somebody to share their lives with. And this guy, Cian, all I know is C-I-A-N, Cian O'Cleary, I think his name is. And he found these autistic people and tried to get them together, set up speed dating sessions and all this stuff to try to, and sometimes he had more success than others. But it's such an amazing ride. You want so badly for these guys to succeed, or these people to succeed. And I'm just, here's how great it is. I binged the 2 seasons, 11 total episodes in a couple of days, and tracked down the Australian version. With the same Cian O'Cleary. It's every bit as good. So you really got 4 seasons, 2 America, 2 Australia. If you don't love this, and I said, and my wife likes it, doesn't love it. And I made my family sit and watch an episode. I put them.
Did you sit them down?
I sat them all down, right, Rhea? And I'll be honest with you. I was the one that liked it the most, which led my wife to say, I never realized how romantic you are.
Yeah.
And I said, down at your finger. The ring, you remember? But anyway, bottom line is, Love on the Spectrum is a phenomenal watch. And you know, Jay, you do all these Hallmark things and stuff, and you write for all that. You are a romantic yourself. You would, but Jay, promise me you'll sit your wife down with you and watch 1 episode.
Angelo, I've already watched it, number 1, with my wife. I love it. I'm with you 100% on this show. It is handled wonderfully. And number 2, my writing partner, Brian Herzlinger, who is directing a movie I unfortunately didn't write, is using 2 people from Love on the Spectrum in his movie, and said one of them is the best actor he's ever worked with. So you're going to see a Hallmark movie this Christmas. Yes, as a using members of Love on the Spectrum. So I'm with you 100% on all of it, Angelo. And you better watch that Hallmark movie because it's going to be
check
great.
it out. Rhea,
I will.
I know it's not British and no one dies, but you should check it out.
and you know what, Angelo? It's a show that could have been exploitative and isn't. And that's the amazing thing. Yeah. It's so they treat everyone with dignity.
So good.
And I just also want to tag one more thing. Jake Gyllenhaal did Roadhouse and then followed it up with a nuanced performance in Presumed Innocent. He's been an action star. He's been a villain in Nightcrawler. He's been a lead. I think he might be underrated as one of the best actors of his generation. Wow. And people don't talk about him enough. So I'm glad you brought him up. He is a fantastic actor. All right. So let me finish out by saying I want to talk about
what range. It's range. He could do everything.
Yeah, 100%. Anything he wants, he does well. I don't know if this guy has range, but I'm going to bring up Glenn Powell, who I guess is the next movie star of the moment. And the guy has wattage of charisma to spare. I watched Twisters with my son before they left on vacation. And I'm going to say this. If you like just turn your brain off summer action movie, it's perfectly adequate for your needs. Go see it in the theater. I saw it in the Prime Theater with the rumble seats. So when the tornado comes through, you feel like they're there. Two things I have to say that are mild spoilers. So if you want to go in completely clean, stop here. Number one, there is a scene that was obviously written for Helen Hunt to come back and reprise her role.
Wow.
But they didn't get Helen Hunt. And they replaced her with Maura Tierney. And it was the most disappointing part of the movie because you build up to this moment. And you're like, well, it's got to be Helen Hunt. And then Maura Tierney walks out, who I like, but I was very disappointed by that. That's the number one thing. They should have changed the way they did that. And number two, no kiss at the end. They walk in and it's big controversy. Steven Spielberg said, cut the kiss.
You're killing me. You're killing me. I wanted to watch this movie. You don't
can't do that.
The end of the movie?
No, Rhea, I'm just saying. I'm not, there's no kiss at the end. That's not a spoiler. It's an important point. You should be warned that you sit through the whole movie and this romance blossom.
The end of the movie away.
That is horrible.
I'm going to say this.
You cut that.
Violated.
Here's what I'm going to say. They do kiss a tornado, though. So I don't know if that counts. All right, guys. What, Angelo?
Say this. I will watch Glenn Powell because, frankly, he's a beautiful man.
All right, how about this for a spoiler? At one point, he's in a white T-shirt and he walks out in the rain. And I could hear every woman in the audience just sort of inhale through their teeth in a way I've never heard.
I'm back in.
Angelo, what did we cover this week?
That makes me out. I didn't want to know about the T-shirt. All right, Jay, let me go over. I'm a little blipping out here, though. Let me go over. If you would like to see all of the coverage of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris and all that, it's on every single station, every single minute. You can't miss it. All right. If you still want to see the beer, watch season 2. That's where it got its 20 nominations. That's on Hulu. If you want to see a better show that's funnier, Succession is on Max. You won't be able to beat Succession. The fight between Jake Paul exclusively on Netflix. All right. We also, Rhea is highly recommending Trying on Apple. That's her British thing. The Batman is now available on Max. And I am strongly urging you to check out both Presumed Innocent on Apple and especially Love on the Spectrum on Netflix. Twisters in theaters now. Go where there are rumble seats.
That's it. Really, in life, that's good advice. Go where there's rumble seats, everywhere that you can possibly go. Guys, I want to thank you for joining us. If you like this, please rate, review us, and tell a friend. Also, don't forget to visit our spectacular sponsor, Steven Singer. If you want to talk to us, we don't always talk about the fan mail that you send, but we read all of it. If you just scroll up in the podcast app, there's a little button that says send fan mail, and we will listen and read all of it. We appreciate you coming by. If you want Angelo Cataldi's book, go to angelocataldi.com or Amazon.com, or if you want to hear him talking to you, you could go to audible.com. Guys, we will join you again next week. Thanks for joining.
Bye.